Okay, let's explore a technique for solving equations involving exponential functions, like this one, 2 to the x equals 8. Now, actually, we can just look at this and tell what the answer is. It's saying 2 to what power is 8? Well, 3, of course. But we'll use this just to kind of explore a technique because we know what the answer is going to be. What we did by eyeballing this was just recognized really that 8 is 2 to the third power. So, you could take this approach. You could say, well, this is 2 to the x equals 2 to the third, and if they're equal, if the bases are the same, then the exponents must be equal. So you could just equate the exponents and solve that way. That's one thing you could do. Now, another thing you could do is recognizing this is 2 to the x, you could apply the inverse function to both sides. In other words, this exponential function of 2 to the x, you could apply log base 2 to both sides. Now, the reason you would do that is because log base 2 and 2 to the x, those are inverses. So what you get is you just get the x. These kind of eliminate each other. And you get that x, this whole side here is just going to be x equals log base 2 of 8. And, of course, you've got this logarithmic expression. You can say 2 to what power is 8? Well, 3. So you can see that x is just equal to 3 there as well. Now, all three of these methods are fine. And, in fact, this first method is pretty cool, but it won't always work. Because what if you didn't have something nice like this? What if it was 2 to the x equals 7? Well, then it's a little more difficult because you have 2 to the x equals something that's not a power of 2. So in general, the way I like to solve exponential functions is this way. I like to just apply a natural log to both sides. I don't care what the base is, I just apply a natural log to both sides. See? Natural log of 2 to the x equals natural log of 8. And then what I do is I bring the x around front. See, like that. That's a property of logs. Then I've just got this coefficient times x equals some number. So I divide by log 2, and here's my solution. So x equals log 8 divided by log 2. Now you have to be careful to not call that log 4. You're not saying 2 over 8. You're not saying 8 over 2. You're saying log 8 over log 2. So you can't divide, 8 divided by 2 here. But you might say, okay, so that's the answer, and you might say, well, that looks different from this. But think about a change of base formula. If we just change the base of this log base 2 of 8, see, if I change the base, notice to natural log, I'm going to have natural log of 8 over natural log of 2. So you can see that these are the same answer, just different bases. That's what it is. Okay, so let's look here at this example. We have 5 to the x equals 8. And I'm going to use this method of just applying natural log to both sides. Okay, I took the natural log of this side, natural log of this side. Then I bring the x around. And then it's just a matter of dividing. So I get x equals log 8 over log 5. Very simple. And, of course, if you wanted a nice decimal answer, you could put that in your calculator and calculate it. Now, let's try this one. Now, this one is a little bit different looking, right? Because I have this plus 2. Okay, so it complicates things a little bit. But here's what we want to do. First thing, you isolate the exponential term. So you isolate. Bring the 2 over and subtract from the 8. So you isolate. Then you log. Isolate, log, and then solve by bringing the x around front. Isolate, log, and solve. And then I can divide. So there's my answer. So notice, isolate, log, solve. That's the way we're going to proceed with all of these exponential equations. So let's look at another one. Now we've got a plus 2, and in addition to that, we've got a 3 times the exponential expression part. Now, be careful that you never say 3 times 5, 15 to the x. No, remember the order of operations. The exponent goes first. You compute the exponent, then multiply. Okay, so here we go. We got to isolate. Now the isolate is going to involve subtracting the 2. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Subtract the 2. And then I need to divide by this 3. There we go. So we have isolated. We've isolated. We had to subtract the 2 and then divide by the 3. Then you log it, bring the x around, and solve. And there we've solved this exponential equation. So remember, isolate, log, and solve.